Number 10, Ra's al Ghul. You ever met a guy who just refuses to die because he's got a really expensive bathtub? Ra's al Ghul is that guy. The legendary demon's head who's been running the League of Assassins since before your great-great-grandparents were even a thought. The deal about this guy is that he's basically an immortal warlord who spent centuries chilling in green goo called Lazarus Pits just to stay fresh, which I sometimes find cool and hilarious. But the reason I'm calling him the ultimate mentor and why he deserves to be on this list is because he actually trained multiple people in the League of Assassins. He taught his daughter Talia al Ghul to become a master of the League, then a second daughter, and turned her into a soldier as well. But his greatest disciple is probably Damian Wayne, the annoying brat who became the most skilled Robin in history all thanks to him. Ra's himself is no slouch since he consistently fights Batman in shirtless swords fights in the middle of deserts, which I guess is a kink only found in people with years of P-Hub screen time. To add to his trophy cabinet, he also released the Ebola Gulf A virus during Contingent because he thinks the planet needs a haircut. I'm putting him at number 10 because at the end of the day, he's just a very old man with a large bank account and zero superpowers. He doesn't have cosmic energy or magic fingers, he just has really good health insurance and a lot of ninjas. He's the baseline for this list because everyone else above him can basically turn him into a puddle without breaking a sweat. I guess it's hard to be the alpha when your biggest power is not having wrinkles. Comment down below if you want to buy Ross's bathwater. Number 9, Professor X. I've always thought it was bold to run a school while wearing a suit every single day, but Charles Xavier makes it work. He's the genius founder of the X-Men and the most famous telepath in Marvel, dreaming of a world where humans and mutants don't want to poke each other with pitchforks. His school for gifted youngsters is kind of special to me because it's basically Hogwarts, but with more leather spandex and existential dread. But the real deal lies in his students who are absolutely terrifying, especially Jean Grey, who bonded with the Phoenix Force and literally ate a star like it was a snack. Then you have Iceman, who realized he's an Omega-level mutant and could freeze the entire planet and rebuild his body from thin air. Even Cyclops can punch holes through mountains with his face, which Galactus is probably going to use later. But Xavier himself is a mental titan who mind-wiped Magneto and fought the Shadow King on an astral plane like a psychic gladiator. But those are not even his craziest feats because he once even screamed across the entire galaxy to talk to the Shi'ar Empire, which beats paying for long-distance roaming charges. I'm ranking him 9th because, well, he can melt your brain from a mile away. He's still a guy who can be defeated by a well-placed stairs or a heavy rock. Not only that, he also lacks the reality warping juice that the heavy hitters further up this list use to remodel the universe. He's definitely way more cool than Ra's al Ghul because his psychic powers are a massive cheat code, but he's still just a squishy human beneath that massive bald head. Number 8, Wonder Woman. Imagine being so tough that you were literally sculpted from clay and then given a yes by the entire Greek pantheon. Diana of Themyscira is the ultimate warrior princess of the Justice League, and I've always been a fan of how she balances being a diplomat and a walking tank. As a mentor, she trained Donna Troy and Cassie Sandsmark, who turned into absolute units under her watch. Donna Troy actually got strong enough to fight Black Adam, the leader of Kahndaq. The crazy thing is, Cassie isn't far behind, throwing hands with mythological monsters like it's a Tuesday morning. But Diana's own feats make me want to stay on her good side forever. Why? Because she once held back a mind-controlled Superman and survived his heat visions. She even beat Ares, the actual god of war, and that's not crazy enough. She blinded herself with snake venom just so she could decapitate Medusa without turning into a statue. That's dedication. But by far my favorite moment of hers is literally 2 issues later when she fought the entire Justice League while still being blind and giving them a good beating. I have her at number 8 because her divine physiology and combat skills make the previous guys look like toddlers. She eclipses Professor X because you can't mind meld with someone who's punching you into orbit at Mach 5. However, she's still a physical brawler at heart, and as much as I love her, she can't just wish a galaxy out of existence like the magic users and cosmic gods can. She's the greatest fighter on Earth, but the guys above her are playing a completely different game. Number 7, Martian Manhunter. John Johns is basically a Swiss Army knife made of green muscle and existential sadness, and I honestly think he's probably the most underrated hero ever. He's the last green Martian, and he has every power you can imagine, from Superman's strength to turning invisible and walking through walls. But don't ask him to find you a girl, because even if he has that kind of superpower, it won't be strong enough to counter your chopped face. So who did he teach? Kyle Rayner, who became so strong he's probably the second greatest Green Lantern after Hal. He also once disguised himself as a high school civics teacher to keep an eye on a young Clark Kent, who we know became the greatest DC hero ever, after Batman. John himself is so powerful that Superman once admitted he's afraid to fight him, which is the ultimate flex in the DC universe. But wait, he got more than his belt. He's held off the entire Justice League by himself and pushed Brainiac's massive ship through deep space like he was moving furniture. On top of that, he scanned every single mind on Earth at the same time and even used his brain power to briefly make the Joker sane, which is probably the hardest feat on this list. I'm putting him at 7 because he's basically Wonder Woman with telepathic upgrade and a cloaking device. The only reason he isn't higher is because he has a very awkward psychological fear of fire. Sydney Sweeney is probably not his type because she is too hot for him. Number 6, Ancient One. If you've been alive for 500 years in a secret village, you've probably learned a few tricks that don't involve a rabbit in a hat. The Ancient One, or Yao, was the Sorcerer Supreme before Doctor Strange, and he spent centuries defending our reality from things that look like they came out of the deepest pit of the SCP Foundation. As a teacher, he taught Stephen Strange everything he knows, and look how that turned out. Strange has bound the dread Dormammu, rebuilt entire realities that got trashed, and even stood up to Galactus using nothing but some glowing circles and a fancy cape. But the Ancient One's own magic is on a completely different level, because before Strange was able to banish Dormammu, he came to save him and defeated the threat with ease. Not only that, he could slide his astral form across the cosmos and manipulate reality like he's editing a video on his phone. I'm ranking him 6 because he's finally stepped out of the strong guy category and into the I changed the rules category. He destroys Martian Manhunter because magic doesn't care about your Martian biology or physical invulnerability. But let's be real, he's still a mortal man who has to borrow his power from higher beings like the Vishanti. He's the ultimate wizard, but no, he doesn't have a spell to make your wee-wee longer. Number 5, Mamaragan. Mamaragan is the kind of guy who doesn't just teach you how to do math, he just gives you the brain of a calculator and tells you to go nuts. He also known as the Wizard Shazam, he sits on the Rock of Eternity and guards all the magic in the universe like a grumpy divine grandpa. Instead of long lectures, he just zaps people with lightning and gives them the power of 6 different gods. He empowered Black Adam, who once fought the Justice League, Justice Society, and Teen Titans all at once, which I would say is the definition of having no chill. Apparently Black Adam wasn't cool enough, so he gave him Billy Batson enough power to knock out Superman and create black holes with his fists, which I don't know if his girl should be excited or scared about. But Mamaragan himself is a cosmic powerhouse who defeated the 7 deadly sins. But that's not even his coolest feat, because he literally built the Rock of Eternity out of 2 giant mystical rocks. I'm putting him at number 5 because he isn't just using magic, he is the source of it for his champions. He is above the Ancient Ones because he's an immortal reservoir of divine energy, rather than a guy who has to study for his spells. He's operating at a level where he's basically a walking battery for the supernatural. However, he's still tied to his specific realm and his role as a guardian, so he doesn't quite have the universal reach of the heavy hitters above him. He's the king of his own magical castle, but the guys coming up next own the entire neighborhood. Number 4, Highfather. Being the leader of the new god sounds like a lot of work, but Isaiah, the inheritor, makes it look like a peaceful Sunday morning. I think this is the first time I've talked about the Highfather on this channel, so I'm kinda excited. This guy's the ruler of New Genesis and the guy who talks directly to the source, which, if you don't know, is the cosmic energy that basically glued the universe together. I've always been a fan of how he raised Orion, Darkseid's son, to be a hero instead of a monster. Orion got so strong under Highfather that he actually beat Darkseid to a pulp, adding a whole new unforgettable family lore. Then there's Mr. Miracle, who learned how to escape the literal inescapable Omega Sanction thanks to the vibes of New Genesis. But here's the thing, Orion and Mr. Miracle are so powerful because Highfather's own history is mental as heck. Back in the day, his fights with Darkseid were literally shattering planets as collateral damage. Now he's more of a cosmic pacifist who can shatter the source wall with a stick and bring people back from the dead using something called the Alpha Effect. I'm ranking him 4th because he's a literal deity sitting at the top of the multiverse food chain. He blows Mamaragan out of the water because his power comes from a fundamental universal force, not just earthly magic. He's basically a living conduit for the creator of everything, which is a pretty good resume builder. The only reason he's not top 3 is that he's too nice to use his full destructive power most of the time. He's got the power of a god, but the temperament of a librarian, which keeps him just below the more aggressive universe shakers. But still, give him TikTok and he'll have a short attention span and become an iPad kid with anger issues in just a week. Number 3, Zeus. Zeus is the kind of dad who shows up to a fight and everyone immediately regrets being there, regardless of which comic universe he's in. Whether it's Marvel or DC, he's the Skyfather who runs Olympus and throws lightning bolts for fun. Zeus in Marvel raised Hercules, a guy who literally towed Manhattan with a chain and held up the entire sky. While in DC, he's the one who gave Wonder Woman her divine spark, allowing her to smack around gods like Ares. But my favorite part about him is his own feats, which are absolutely legendary and honestly kinda terrifying. In Marvel, he once fought the Savage Hulk and beat him so badly it wasn't even funny, actually shutting down the Hulk's healing factor with pure divine muscle. Not only that, he can manipulate the cosmic axis of the universe and has power that makes Odin take him seriously. In DC, his lightning has actually made Darkseid bleed and can split the planet like you split your bill during dates because you broke. I'm putting him at number 3 because he's the classic Skyfather with infinite energy and an ego to match. He takes the spot over Highfather because he's much more aggressive and his combat feats are way more destructive on a planetary scale. He's an omnipotent force who treats mortals like ants, and his raw power is basically a bottomless pit of get wrecked. He's the king of the gods, but even kings have to bow to the forces of nature. Number 2, Odin. Odin is the Allfather of Asgard and the guy who makes being a god look like an entry-level job. What I think makes him super strong is that he wields the Odin Force, which is basically a win button for any situation involving magic or physics. He might not be the best dad, but you gotta admire how he raised Thor to be a planet-shattering warrior who can lift the Midgard serpent and go toe-to-toe with Celestials. Not to mention, he also dealt with Loki, who mastered reality-warping magic just to annoy his brother. Odin himself has insane feats that don't even make sense. He once fought the Egyptian god Seth. The shockwaves of their punches were breaking galaxies and putting out stars like they were birthday candles. If that's not crazy enough, he could stop time for the entire multiverse just because he wants a moment of silence. He has even knocked out Galactus with a headbutt, which honestly is the most metal thing I've ever heard, even though Galactus still won in the end. I'm ranking him second because he is the absolute peak of what a god can be. He beats Zeus because the scale of the Odin Force is just constantly more ridiculous, moving from planetary destruction to multiversal galaxy shredding. He's near omnipotent and can do basically anything he wants with the wave of his hand. The only catch is that he's still a god who needs to take a long nap called the Odin sleep to keep his batteries charged. He's the ultimate king, but he isn't the one who actually built the throne the universe is sitting on. Number 1, Galactus. If you're looking for the guy who makes the rest of this list look like weaklings, look no further than the giant purple guy who eats planets. Galactus isn't a god or a wizard. He's a fundamental force of nature that survived the death of the previous universe. I love that his students are his heralds, like the Silver Surfer, who gets a tiny fraction of his power cosmic and suddenly can fly through stars and destroy solar systems. The Silver Surfer is fast enough to cross the galaxy in a heartbeat, and he's just the intern. Galactus' own power is so high, it's actually hard to wrap your brain around. He's fought 4 mad Celestials at once, consumes entire worlds in seconds, and once had a fight with an entity named Tyrant that wiped out multiple galaxies as accidental collateral damage. But that's not even the craziest part, because he can also change matter, read every mind in the universe, and teleport entire solar systems if he feels like it. I'm ranking him number 1 because he's on a completely different existential plane than everyone else. He doesn't use magic or biological powers. He is a pillar of reality that keeps the multiverse in balance. He makes Odin and the Skyfathers look like small-town mayors, because while they rule their little dimensions, Galactus is a necessary part of the universe's plumbing. He is the ultimate survivor of the Big Bang, and at the end of the day, you're all just part of his lunch menu. Unless he goes vegan. Well, that's it for this one. If you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and ring the bell so you never miss a drop. Craving more stories from comics, movies, and beyond? Check out this video right here. Cheers, and see you in the next one.